Welcome back to Connectivity Problems. Last week, our first week was looking at improving our relationships. Hopefully you paid attention to that. And communication was the topic. The quality of our relationships, listen to this, the quality of our relationships is highly correlated to the quality of our communication. And the quality of our lives is highly correlated to the quality of our relationships. So if you want a great life, communication, it really matters.
Yeah, we looked at two types of communication errors, miscommunication and lack of communication. We looked at the importance of listening with the goal of understanding the other party in their relationship. And we looked at how direct communication is critical, speaking the truth with grace. And today we're going to look at conflict.
Yeah, so conflict is normal and natural. It just happens. Conflict will do one of two things to a relationship. It can really either damage it or it can deepen it. Conflict, it can be good. It happens. So conflict happens when two unique people have different perspectives on how life should be. It's a normal human interaction. Leander and I have conflict. We even have conflict with ourselves. You know, sometimes our head and our heart, they don't always agree.
Yeah, conflict, it slips into dangerous waters when hurt happens, when our temperament is impatient, when our words are not kind, when we value being heard more than we value hearing, or when we just let our anger get the best of us.
Yeah, so think about the totality of our relationships. You have marriage, parent-child, friends, coworkers, classmates, neighbors, teammates. There are many different sorts of relationships. When conflict happens in these relationships, here's a few ways for us to move forward toward resolution. Ways to resolve conflict and not dissolve the relationship.
Yeah, first, build relational credits and live by the old axiom, an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. The stronger the relationship is when conflict occurs, the higher the probability the conflict will be resolved well. Now, I think of Paul and Barnabas, thousands of miles traveling together as missionaries, the days spent in jail, all those nights by the campfires praying. Now, John Mark deserted them and he wanted a second chance. Paul was done with John Mark. You can understand why, there's just too much at stake, but Barnabas thought the kid should get another shot. And the Message translates Acts 15:39, says, tempers flared. But Paul and Barnabas brought a lot of emotional capital into this conflict. They were able to work out a healthy resolution and continued building the early church together.
Yeah, so when I do pre-wedding coaching with couples, typically I'll talk about the love bank. Did I talk about that with you and Sam?
No, I'm looking forward to learning about it.
Maybe you didn't pay attention.
We're in the advanced class.
Yeah. So here's how it works. Our relationships are full of deposits and withdrawals. Relationships that have plenty of deposits and a very healthy balance. When a withdrawal predictably happens, that's a conflict, the balance will cover the withdrawals. Now, when the withdrawal occurs and the deposits have been really scarce, with a balance next to nothing, the relationship here is going to suffer, or it's even going to end. And one of the parties is going to say, is this even worth it anymore? Because they don't have that relational capital. So do the little things daily to deposit credits into the love bank of your relationships. Listen, encourage, serve. In today's world, be fully present, give, pray, play, do all these things. So next is going to be take initiative. Probably the most common relational question that I get asked is something like this. Who needs to make the first move toward reconciliation? My sister, she totally frustrated me. She did something mean. Who needs to make the first move? And my answer is always this: the healthy person needs to make the first move. Now here's what I don't mean. The healthier of the two people needs to make the first move. What I mean is any healthy person is going to make the first move. And that's the nature of people who thrive in life and are redemptive forces. Now I hear this a lot, they caused the problem. They should be the ones who come to me. Really? You want to leave the power for reconciliation and healing in your life 100% in somebody else's hands, and admit that you're fully powerless to try to bring about a better relational outcome in your life. Now, the other party may not even have the full capacity to take the first step. Maybe they've been trained to be too proud, or they're too anxious about having a tough conversation. They simply cannot move forward.
Now let's look what Jesus had to say about the topic. Who goes first? Is it the party who injured the other person or the one who was injured? Jesus' answer is the healthy party takes the initiative. But what if they hurt me? Shouldn't that be their responsibility? According to Jesus, the healthy party takes the initiative. Jesus says in Matthew 18:15, if a fellow believer hurts you, go and point out what is wrong, but do it in private, just between the two of you. If that person listens, you've won that person back. And Jesus is clear here. Don't wait for the offending party to come to you. As a healthy person in the relationship, go and deal with that conflict. Now, what about if you're the one who caused the pain, which is all of us at some point? Jesus says in Matthew 5:23-24, so suppose you're offering a gift at the altar and you remember that your brother or sister has something against you. He says, leave that gift right in front of the altar and first go back and make peace with them, then come back and offer your gift. That's how important this is to God. Someone is at the altar with a gift to worship God, but God said, if there's a conflict between you and someone else, go and deal with that first, then come back and worship me. God cares about our relationships with each other just as much as he cares about our relationship with him. It's like any parent with their children. You want to have a relationship with them, but you also hope your children can have meaningful relationships with each other. With 3 kids and twin girls, I'm sure there's plenty of conflict in the future in my house, but as a parent, I hope they're always able to make peace, find resolution, and stay friends. And the only way to make sure that first step in conflict resolution is taken is to take the first step, and that's what healthy and redemptive people do.
Yeah, so first, build that relational capital daily so that the relationship is strong when the predictable conflict comes. Next, be the healthy person and take initiative in resolving the conflict. You don't want to leave 100% of the possible healing in your life in someone else's hands. Now, third, value the person more than you value being right or having your preferences met. Jesus doesn't say love like knowing that you're smarter than others, love that you're more creative than others, or love that you have more experience than others. Jesus says love others. So in 1 Corinthians chapter 13, verse 5, this is a master class on love that Paul gives. And he says, love does not demand its own way. Love values the other person more than it values being right or having our own preferences met. Don't let a problem to be solved be more important than a person to be loved. So hear this, conflict is inevitable, it happens, but combat is totally optional. The quality of our relationships doesn't depend on whether we have conflicts or not, because they're going to happen. What the quality of our relationships really depend on is how we work through the conflict. As we looked last week, there's a right conversation to have, there's a right way to have the conversation, and there's the right time to have the conversation. Proverbs chapter 15, verse 18 says, a hot-tempered person stirs up conflict, but the one who is patient calms a quarrel. Be the non-anxious presence in the relationship, set the temperature. Instead of heating things up, cool things down. So often in life, I've just observed this, conflict is not between right and wrong. Conflict is usually between average and pretty good, or it's between bad and worse, or it's between 2 choices that are coming from totally different perspectives. I see people fight and demand their own way, and they may win the argument, but what happens is they lose the relationship. Conflict happens. Value the other person more than you value being right or having your preferences met.
And now comes the most important part of your gathering. Take a look at the questions on page 9 of your study guide. Work through these questions together. Be open and honest with each other and listen well. Everybody can learn something from anybody. Hope you have a great conversation, and we'll see you next week.